Another topic that received a lot of attention 10 to 20 years ago was homelessness. And we had studies on it and TV shows dedicated to it and so forth. But it's so amorphous, it's so hard to identify, or at least for most of us, that many Americans like me, especially living abroad, disregard it. But homelessness is a universal phenomenon. It exists in every society. And the reasons for it are interesting. In poor countries, this can be simply a racially despised group or mental illness or something like that. And such countries usually don't have very well organized social welfare systems which take care of these people. So that it's private organizations that take care of people, especially, say, the Catholic Church, which is pretty good at this kind of thing, in my opinion. Another observation that's made in this article is, shifting to the industrialized countries, homelessness is not necessarily the result of being lazy. Many homeless people have jobs. It's just that their jobs don't provide enough money to pay rent. They have to choose between buying food or buying shelter. And as the article says very sharply, when one must choose between food and shelter, one of course always chooses food. Food has to come first. Now, that's interesting in itself. Now, the things that produce homelessness, it can be racism, but it can also be domestic violence, or just teens running away from home. Domestic violence is the most shocking and perhaps depressing one of all these stories, but we know that it exists. That is, a woman and her children are abused by a husband. I don't think the husbands flee very often from domestic violence. This is a male thing, more misogynism and confused males. So the wife, for whatever reasons, leaves home to escape from something, often taking the children with her. Well, this is a terrible, terrible situation. A woman and her children living under trash bags right on the street. What happens to the children's education? What happens? They can't go to school. Their clothes smell. We all know the effects of poverty in situations like this are so cliche, devastating, but they really are. They're terrible. Now, the European countries have a very well-developed social welfare benefit system, too good, so that a large percentage of European GDPs go toward the protecting and providing money and food and medical care for the poor. In some countries, it's kind of nice to be poor. And this has proved to be a real drain on Europeans' budgets. Really, such issues have far-reaching consequences. From the American point of view, if the Europeans complain, no, we can't provide troops or something like this because we can't afford it, if we look into the apportionment of their budget, we find this huge, generous social welfare program which eats into their budget quite a lot, and of course prevents them from being more equal partners in other things that we want. So these are complex, but it is a problem, and the causes, solutions are very controversial.